Welcome to Pete Hegseth News. Tonight we are looking at a scenario that has stunned military analysts, shaken intelligence communities, and raised a question that until now many believed was impossible. What if air superiority, once considered absolute, could collapse in less than 30 minutes? What if the most advanced stealth fleet in the world faced failure not from destruction but from something far more subtle? A breakdown in the very systems it depends on to survive. In the early hours before sunrise, Nevatim Air Base appeared calm. Operations were routine, aircraft positioned across hardened shelters, and underground systems remained active. But beneath that calm surface, a chain of events had already begun, one invisible to conventional surveillance. The first sign came not from explosions, but from disruption. Navigation systems across multiple platforms began experiencing brief irregularities. Nothing severe enough to trigger alarms, but enough to create uncertainty. Pilots reported minor deviations, targeting systems recalibrated unexpectedly, and communication links showed momentary instability. At first, these anomalies were treated as technical glitches. But what made this different was timing. The disruptions were occurring simultaneously across multiple systems and layers of infrastructure. This suggested coordination rather than coincidence. Deep within command centers, technicians began cross-checking data. GPS signals appeared normal at first, but closer analysis revealed subtle inconsistencies, timing offsets, signal drift, and micro-delays. These were not traditional jamming signals. They were more precise, more controlled. Then came the second phase. Within minutes, targeting systems began losing accuracy. Weapons guidance systems produced conflicting data. Aircraft reliant on real-time positioning began operating with degraded precision. And in modern warfare, precision is everything. As disruptions spread, confusion began to build. Not chaos, but a growing realization that something was affecting the core systems enabling air dominance. Because stealth alone does not guarantee superiority. It is integration, sensors, communication, and navigation that creates advantage. Analysts began considering a long-discussed possibility. What if the system itself was being targeted? Not physically, but digitally. Not through visible attack, but controlled disruption. At the same time, another development unfolded. Multiple launch signatures were detected, but not in traditional ways. No large radar spikes, no clear trajectories. Only brief thermal signals that quickly vanished. These patterns aligned with short-range precision systems like the Fath-360. But something was different, it suggested. Integration between signal disruption and strike capability, a layered, coordinated approach. As minutes passed, the situation escalated. Aircraft attempting takeoff faced inconsistent navigation data. Ground defense systems experienced delays. Response times increased slightly, but enough to create vulnerability, and in modern combat, even seconds matter. This was not a conventional strike, it was a layered operation combining electronic disruption with precise timing. It targeted not just physical assets, but the systems enabling them. As the first impacts were reported limited but strategic, it became clear the objective was not destruction but degradation. A systematic reduction of operational effectiveness. Within 30 minutes, the environment had changed, not through visible damage but through loss of synchronization, a breakdown in coordination, a reduced ability to operate at full capacity. This is where air dominance begins to shift. It is not just about advanced aircraft, it is about control of information, timing, and precision. When those are compromised, even the most advanced systems can be forced into defense. Inside Nevatim Air Base, contingency protocols were activated, backup systems engaged, communication rerouted. But the disruption adapted. It followed the systems, maintaining pressure without triggering total shutdown. Pilots faced a difficult choice: trust the data or question it. Targeting systems displayed coordinates, but confidence dropped. And in high-precision environments, doubt can be more disabling than failure. Ground defense systems faced similar challenges. Radar remained active, but integration became inconsistent. Delays, small but critical, began, disrupting timing windows. Additional launch signatures appeared, again brief, again difficult to track. Each impact targeted infrastructure nodes, communication points, and support systems essential to operations. Analysts began recognizing a shift in strategy. Instead of overwhelming force, this operation relied on precision timing and layered interference. It weakened systems from within. Command centers attempted to isolate the disruption, but modern networks are interconnected. Isolating one component created uncertainty in others. Complexity became a barrier to recovery. Electronic warfare became the central focus, not as support but as the primary method. This was not signal overload, but manipulation, subtle inconsistencies, introduced into critical systems. Onboard aircraft, systems attempted to compensate, algorithms recalibrated continuously, trying to reconcile conflicting data. But this created a feedback loop correction influenced by manipulated inputs. Decision-makers shifted strategy from response to containment. It became clear the goal was temporary denial of capability, a window of reduced effectiveness. Though physical damage remained limited, the strategic impact was significant, because perception of vulnerability can influence decisions as strongly as actual loss. As time passed, partial stability returned. Some communication channels were restored. Navigation inconsistencies reduced. But recovery was slow and complex. Analysts focused not on damage but on implications. The event demonstrated that advanced systems could be influenced through non-kinetic means. This realization extended beyond one location. It suggested future conflicts may rely more on information control than direct confrontation. As reports were compiled, one conclusion emerged. Air power had not been redefined, but its reliability had been challenged. A new focus area had opened for strategic planning. As the situation moved into its final phase, systems stabilized. But the implications grew. Technicians reconstructed timelines, identifying chains of micro-disruptions rather than a single failure. This reinforced a key insight: modern systems can be influenced through data itself. And when that data becomes unreliable, effectiveness declines without visible destruction. Protocols began to evolve, greater emphasis on redundancy, data validation, and cross-checking signals across independent sources. Because resilience depends on verification, strategic discussions expanded. Analysts examined vulnerabilities in other systems and how to balance efficiency with resilience. Globally, attention remained limited. But within defense circles, the event was studied closely as a model for future operations. In Tel Aviv, restraint was reaffirmed not as weakness, but strategy. Acting without clarity carries greater risk. In Washington, focus shifted to long-term adaptation, strengthening resilience and improving detection against non-physical threats. As the event transitioned into analysis, its influence continued, not through headlines but through changes in planning, training, and system design. The key takeaway was clear: control of information can shape outcomes as effectively as physical force. As we close this report, what stands out is not one dramatic moment but a sequence of subtle developments, a demonstration that even advanced systems can be influenced, and that resilience in modern conflict depends not only on strength but on adaptability, awareness, and the ability to operate under uncertainty as the landscape evolves. One question remains: how do systems adapt when the challenge is no longer visible? And how do decisions change when certainty is replaced by probability? Because in that space between what is known and what is possible, the future is being shaped.